What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Point2Point NHL Recap Show. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Harlock as always, and we got a lot on today's episode to go through. We got some relocation rumors. Playoffs are starting up. Frozen 4, it's down to the finals right now, and we're going to do our award predictions too, but let's start off with the big news with the Arizona Coyotes. The NHL and the Coyotes right now, they're preparing for a possible relocation to Utah. Initially, the hope was to see if the Coyotes would win a land bid on June 27th. Winning the land bid would allow them to build a new rink in North Scottsdale. But with that, there's pretty much two issues that the NHL and the Coyotes are seeing. The first issue is if they don't win the land, then at that point they don't have land and they don't have anywhere to build a new rink. And then the second issue is if they do win that land bid and they would go ahead and build that new rink on that location, but it would take 3 years to build a rink, so that would mean 3 more seasons of the Coyotes playing out of Mullet Arena. So multiple sources have been indicating that it's a real scenario that the Morello group is going to be bought out by Ryan Smith, who owns the Utah Jazz in the NBA. Ryan Smith would be paying $1.2 billion to purchase the team, and Morello would get $1 billion of the money. And if that was to happen and they do relocate, those same sources are basically saying that Morello will be given a 5-year window where he will have the exclusive right to bring back the Coyotes as an expansion team. So, even if they do relocate, it's not for sure that hockey's done in Arizona forever. But, what do you think of all this, Mark? Because it's been a lot of information here that's come out pretty quickly here.
There's a lot going on with this. As much as we've been talking about this for years and years, this last little bit has just kind of came at us pretty fast. We probably didn't expect Arizona to be out of Arizona next year. Yeah. I know that the NHL has gone forward with making 2 different schedules, actually.
Yeah, I saw
one
that
is
as well.
with Arizona in Arizona, and one of them is if they move to Salt Lake City, because obviously there's going to be different scenarios with travel and stuff like that, and even for home games. I would just feel a lot more confident if the route went with them just moving for now. It's gonna suck though for the employees in the company, including the players, coaching staff, stuff like that. Apparently, according to Elliot Freeman, a lot of players are very unhappy with Morello. And because to be honest, he's been very quiet about this possibility, and these guys are trying to find a home, right? I know a lot of these guys aren't on long-term deals with the Coyotes, but it's they probably want to have some clarity with their future. And I think the thing that's very going to be odd going forward is, say this happens where the team gets bought, I would just hope that the team could stay there, and then if there's a possibility of Arizona getting a team with a new rink, that it is an expansion team. Because it's Arizona, I would say, prospect-wise, player-wise, they're on the up.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say they're going in the wrong direction. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team next year, but they've got picks, they've got prospects, they've got some young players. And the thing is, it's if they're going to go there for 4 to 5 years and potentially move back, it's are guys going to want to do that? Or are they going to be able to attract free agents? That would be just a no for me to sign there. You know what I mean? So I kind of hope that they end up moving. I think waiting for this June 27th thing is way too long, dude. That's going to be post-draft.
If
you know what? And you don't even know if they're going to win.
If they wait till June 27th, that means no matter what happens, that they're going to be playing out of Mullet next year. Because, even if they don't, let's say June 27th comes around and the Morello group does not win the bid on this land in Northern Scottsdale, then at that point they have to relocate.
Yeah.
But it's June 27th. It's too late to relocate. When Atlanta relocated to Winnipeg, it was announced in May. This would be a full month and a half later.
And that was actually considered quite late too, because Atlanta didn't even know that they were playing their last home game there.
Well, and
the season was already over.
Somebody did ask Bill Daly too, with this land bid being on June 27th, is that too late to relocate if that doesn't go right? And Bill Daly didn't. He said pretty much, yeah. He didn't give a definitive answer, but he was sort of.
I think that's a fair answer, though. As much as we hate on the NHL for a lot of stuff, I think they're getting sick and tired of it, and I don't really blame them. like I don't really know if this comes down to this is actually like Alex Morello's fault, but I think that he hasn't been clear enough with people within the organization that people are getting pissed off. And I like I said in other podcasts, I think it's time for Arizona to go, but I don't take out the possibility of them coming back. I think it could work there, but it's not the right time.
Yeah, I would love for it to work there. I think it would work there, but they need it to be set up properly and have the right ownership. And right now, it's like Murillo is at fault for a lot of the stuff that has happened. Like when you look at the Tempe deal and all that happened last year with that, like they thought they were overconfident thinking that vote was going to go through in their favor.
Yeah.
They didn't do enough campaigning. They didn't start their campaign. I was listening to the Spit and Chicklets podcast that they released this week, and they had Arizona Coyotes like beat writer on, and he was saying that like a lot of this stuff that the opposite side was saying about the like deal in Tempe was straight like misinformation. Like it wasn't factual at all, and it's like Arizona did nothing to go out and like disprove those facts.
I heard something. There was like this woman who was interviewed, and she said, "I actually like hockey and the Coyotes, but I voted against it because it's just going to cause so much more traffic and all this stuff. So I don't think like Morello and the Coyotes really." Or not the Coyotes, Murillo and like his group really took that into consideration and just thought, oh, another professional sports team here in Arizona. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, yeah, I guess there is some stuff to blame on Murillo. I don't know if it's going to work out. It's just the thing is, it's like I'm not even optimistic if they went through to bid on this land that it's like even going to. They could lose the bid, man. Like it's a bidding war, right? Like it's not just them being the only person giving an offer for this land. Like you don't really know who else wants to go for this land to do something else possibly with it. You know what I mean? So it's no guarantee that you're getting this land.
I think best case scenario here, what happens is the team gets sold to Ryan Smith and they relocate to Utah. June 27th comes around. They do win. They still go through. They buy the land.
Yeah.
They build arena because then it's still 3 years away from like that arena being able to have a team play it in.
Yeah.
And that's within the 5-year window of Morello still being able to bring hockey back to Arizona, but in the expansion form. I think that's the best case scenario. Like you have this owner, Ryan Smith of the Utah Jazz, who runs the Jazz really well. He's been showing a lot of interest in the NHL, and with Gary Bettman wanting to bring a team into Utah for a good amount of years now. So it's like you have a great owner and whole setup there in Utah. And it's also in a part of the country where there's like no competing hockey teams.
No, I guess the only thing that would suck for them actually going there is like there's no real team that close to them. They can go on a close road trip. But I mean, like you're expanding hockey to a different part in America, right?
Yeah.
So I think I would say that's definitely a positive in that regards. I think Arizona needs it. They need to not be there anymore. I think this has gone on way too long. I think the NHL's sick of it, and I think they're going in the right direction. I don't know if you saw it too. Did you see why he would be getting $1 million, but then he'd be selling it for 1.2? Did you hear why they're doing that?
I don't know the.
So apparently, what they're doing, some NHL owners aren't really that happy about it. So essentially, why he's selling it for $200 million less is every owner is getting a percentage of that $200 million.
That's what I was thinking.
But they're not that happy about it, and I can't blame them, but I see the other side because it's also Alex Murillo. He owns the team. Dude, he's about to buy this team for $300 million how many years ago, and he's about to almost get $1 billion for it.
Yeah.
And he didn't really do anything to even drastically improve the team or anything.
They
right?
don't own an arena.
That's what I mean. They don't. He's done nothing, and he's literally about to like triple what to get what he paid for it.
Well, and the other thing is when you look at the split revenue, like the NHL, how they do the split revenue for all the owners, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, like some of these Canadian teams or the bigger market teams are paying a lot more money into that split revenue than the Arizona Coyotes.
Exactly.
They don't own their own fucking rink. They can only have 5,000 fans per home game. Like, I saw another thing too where apparently, like, this doesn't have to do as much with the split revenue, but apparently there was, when the Coyotes were on the road, like, they weren't paying their bills for the hotels. So it got to the point where, like, the NHL and all these hotels, like, ganged up on them and were like, you guys got to pay in advance.
I never even heard about that.
I just saw that in a video I was watching on YouTube the other day, trying to get a bunch of information for the pod just about the whole Arizona situation and what's going on. But
They need more stable ownership, man. I think it's not a bad idea with this Utah guy. He's already got a rink, dude. That helps so much, man. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's the best case scenario that Utah gets a team just with how it's all set up there and how it's looking like for Arizona. I think we should move on. Actually, before we move on, I want to ask a quick question here for you.
Yeah,
absolutely is just a little fun one. If they were to move to Utah, what would be your number one choice for like branding of the team? Because they'd have to move away from the Coyotes.
I think they would have to move away because the potential of Arizona coming back. He probably is owning the rights to that Coyotes name. Man, I wish they could brand the ECHL team to the NHL, the Grizzlies. I think that'd be sick. Obviously, that's not going to happen. I don't know, man. Utah's what, like more northwestern America, right? Kind of.
I'd say like sort of northwest.
Like, so it's kind of near like I guess one of the closest NHL teams would be like Colorado, wouldn't it?
Colorado, Vegas would
not
be
too far.
Not too far.
I'm thinking about something with like obviously you got like the Rockies in baseball or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think Avalanche is too similar to that though.
That's what I mean. But that's what is giving me this thought in my head about something if they can make something along those names. I'm not really good with this stuff, to be quite honest with you. So I don't know. Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know what I'd go with. I'd go with something though that's definitely like unique to the region. Like they got a lot of Mormons, but like Mormons would be pretty goofy of a hockey name or like something like Mormon based. They have the lake there. Like it's gonna be Salt Lake when they move to Utah. It's gonna be like in Salt Lake.
Yeah, they're gonna be called Salt Lake.
I think they should do something like along the terms of. Like something that has to do with Salt Lake, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe the Lakers, like Salt Lake Lakers. Sounds a bit goofy now saying that out loud, but
Honestly,
something that has to do with
if it was Utah Lakers.
Utah Lakers,
I think if they're going Salt Lake Lakers doesn't really sound that great.
Yeah, saying that out loud.
So before we move on, I just want to see, there's actually some news on Twitter in the last couple minutes. A lot of people are expecting, and a lot of people are not going to be happy about this, but Vegas has announced that Mark Stone is cleared to practice and is skating this morning in a non-contact jersey.
Yeah, like a lot of people aren't going to be happy about that, but like, can anybody really sit here and say that we didn't see this coming whatsoever? Like, we all saw this coming, dude.
I just...
the guy goes on...
One part of me thought that maybe they went out and got Hurdle because Stone was out longer than we thought.
Oh, man.
But now it's like the playoffs start on the 20th. We're sitting here on April 12th. He's got 8 days potentially to get healthy and make his debut in the playoffs. But I don't know. Maybe he won't be ready for them, though. If he's still in a non-contact jersey, I guess you don't know. But
yeah, I think
he's going to be back at some point, I think.
He'll be back, dude. Like, this happens every year with Mark Stone, man. I'm looking back season from season. He's played 56 games this year. He played 43 last year. He played 37 the year before. Played 55, 65. Like, the guy's never played.
He never played a full season.
He's played over 65 games 3 times, and that was within his first 5 years in the league.
Yeah.
Like, Vegas is going to do this every year now with Mark Stone. The other thing, too, though, is like, I do think Mark Stone is a little bit injured, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he's 100%.
That Jamie Benn incident last year in the playoffs when he went down, like that didn't look great. Like,
that was dirty.
It is a known thing that Mark Stone does have these back issues. So like I do buy that he is a bit injured, but like I'm not buying the whole like he's gonna be good until March. We'll sit on March till the playoffs, and then playoffs will come back game like 1, 2, or 3. I don't enjoy that. Whatever. The NHL, they're gonna have to change that, but they're gonna have to wait till the next CBA negotiations.
Yeah, it's not happening in the next couple of years.
It can only be changed in the CBA negotiations. Let's move on to the NCAA Frozen Four, though. Man, I'm loving it. This is the first year I'm really paying attention to the Frozen Four.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think part of it is just when you look at the amount of talent in the NCAA. Oh my God, dude!
Well, the amount of just like NHL prospects that are playing in these games, it's pretty exciting to see, especially if you're a fan of one of these teams. So last night we had BU versus Denver, and then Michigan versus Boston College. I was really hoping for a Boston College, Boston University final. I think that would have been pretty crazy. So Boston University ended up losing in overtime to Denver 2-1, and Boston College ended up shutting out Michigan 4-0, a 32-save shutout for Jacob Fowler. I'm a little bit surprised Denver won. I think BU is definitely a better roster, but I mean, with those games, it doesn't really come down to that, right? It's just who wants it more. Boston College, not surprised one bit there. They're so
good,
stacked.
So good.
Fowler and net has just been dynamite. The Habs picked him in the 3rd round last year. He's got up to like 32 wins this year already, too. So we've got a Boston College and Denver final. That should be pretty interesting. And like Zeev Buium, potential top 10, 15 pick, will be playing in that game. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on him. Boston College is going for their first title since 2012. As much as I'm a little bit upset BU is out, the one thing I heard on 32 Thoughts this morning is there's a high likelihood that Lane Hudson is signing with the Habs.
I was going to ask you that.
And he's probably going to be playing the last couple games of the season, I would hope. Pretty exciting for him. The thing is that might hold him back is that his brother, who's draft eligible this year, is going to BU next year, and his older brother, who's there now, is staying. So it was more or less, is it unfinished business and he wants to play another season with 2 of his brothers, or does he think he's ready to take that next step for the NHL? And I think he's personally ready to step in. I would love to see him in the top 6 in Montreal next year. But I guess we'll see. Time will only tell. And then the decision will probably be made within the next couple of days.
I think he's going up to the NHL. When you look at it from his standpoint, like, yeah, maybe there's a bit of unfinished business. Like, they could have, like, as good as they were this year, they could have a better team next year. Like, they're getting Cole Eiserman next year, and Macklin Celebrini. Like, depending on where he goes this year, like,
see, the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to San Jose. Like,
he's staying.
I think he could stay at BU and maybe just join San Jose at the end of the year, kind of what Power did when he was drafted with Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
If he goes to Chicago, though, maybe they think, oh, well, we'll put him in with Bedard right away. I don't know.
I think the only way he goes back is if he goes to San Jose. I think if he goes to anybody else other than San Jose,
he's probably ready to go. Yeah,
he goes up. But like, yeah, if you're Lane Hudson, you got to go up. And the other thing is Montreal. They're probably really going to be pushing for him to come up because it's like it would have been nice to have him this year, realistically.
Ken Hughes is there in Minnesota at the Frozen Four because BU also has like Luke Tuck. Alex Tuck's brother, who's drafted by the Habs. I think they're pushing to sign him this year. And then with BC, you've got Jacob Fowler and Ned, who I'm sure. I don't think he's signing this year, but I think they're just scouting. You know what I mean? They're just watching how he's playing and stuff like that.
You guys might get Macklin Celebrini too.
I don't know. I think honestly that point in the standings last night actually kind of made a difference. Like we're in that 5 to 7 range right now in worst teams in the league. But I mean, if we lost our last couple games, it would definitely make an effect. The one thing I'm actually like happy about the end of this Habs season is these games are sort of meaningful in the sense that for draft positioning, and we've been playing those teams that are right on the verge of the playoffs. Played Philly twice in 2 weeks, Islanders last night. We have a back-to-back with Detroit next week. So it's like these games are mattering for the other team making the playoffs, right? So it's actually been pretty interesting to watch in that standpoint. But I really hope Lane Hudson signs and decides to come up for the last couple games. Potentially, I think he's good enough to make the team next year, to be honest. But I guess we'll see with that. I don't know. There's been no word yet of him signing or potentially playing tomorrow, which would be Saturday. But Montreal also has got a back-to-back Monday, Tuesday with Detroit.
Okay, I have one question here before we move on from the NCAA. BC or Denver in the finals? Who you got?
BC is just so much more talented.
Yeah.
I think, too, like, it's not even that. It's just, like, and I'm not being a homer, but, bro, this fucking Fowler kid, dude, he's playing unbelievable.
He's looking amazing
and the thing is, it's like, you get on teams where, like, they're stacked offensively and the goalie's just kind of carried by the team. But then there's instances where your team is really good, but your goalie's also really good, and you're getting bailed out at times, and that's exactly what he's doing. So it's one game, though. That's the thing, right? It's like I didn't think Denver was going to beat BU. So I could see Denver winning, but I would say right now I'm like 80-20 on BC taking this thing.
Yeah, I got BC, man. When you look at their team, dude, They got so much, man. Like, you got this Jacob Fowler kid in net. Your forwards are loaded, dude.
Cutter Gauthier,
Will Smith. You got Ryan Leonard, like Gabe Perreault.
I'm curious to see after that who's going to sign. Like, I think Cutter Gauthier is going to Anaheim for the last couple games, dude. The guy had 38
He'll sign because he'll want to burn it. Considering what happened with Philly, where he was pissed off that he didn't get called up at the end of last year. There's no way he doesn't. Because if he signs, he'll burn a year off his entry-level contract, right? Like, there's no way the guy wants to not sign and then have to go another year delayed.
Before we move on, other guys I think potentially could sign within the next couple days. Gauthier. Honestly, I think Washington is going to push so hard to sign Ryan Leonard.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if they get into the playoffs. I think that they feel like he could actually like play in the playoffs. With Michigan being out, Frank Nazar, Chicago, he might sign. McGroarty in Winnipeg, I think he could possibly sign too. So, I mean, those are some guys to keep an eye on. Some of them might decide to go back, though. I don't know, or sign in the summer, but this always happens, right? When after the Frozen Four guys, like Cale Makar, he lost in the semifinals, boom, Colorado 2 days later. He's obviously a different exception here, considering he was like a top pairing defenseman in the NHL right when he stepped in. But I mean, a lot of college guys take this route and sign right away because they want to play the end of the season. They're guaranteed NHL games. That's what happens. They say, I'm not signing unless I'm playing in the NHL at the end of the season, right? So
Coronado did it last year.
Exactly. So keep an eye on those guys for sure. There might end up being a couple more guys we're not even mentioning here. But it should be a good final between BC and Denver.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time watching it. Let's move on to some more NHL transactions, though. Noah Hanifin, he's been extended with the Vegas Golden Knights on an 8-year deal worth $58.8 million. That comes to about $735 AAV. When you look at it, it's heavily... There's a lot of bonuses here. He's going to get just under $30 million in bonuses, mostly coming the first few seasons. Hanifin, he's at a career high in points this season with 48. His current career high is 48. He's at 44 this year, but his career high in goals is been set this year with 13. What are your thoughts on the deal? I think I expected this.
What do you think, dude? Like it's just like, so apparently the Calgary deal he was offered was 7.5 by 8. So it's technically a little bit less, but I mean, with the whole tax situation in Vegas, he's probably making more. I don't really know what to think of this. Like, if I had to make a decision, I'd say maybe a slight overpay. But the thing is, it's like I don't know where the cap's going. It's just, I don't know, man. The 44 points to me is the most. Like, I don't know. He's good defensively too, but it's like I don't know if he's a top pairing defenseman.
I think he's a number. He's a 2 or 3. He's a 2 or 3.
You think so? But I think he's Vegas. It's like he's gonna be behind Pietrangelo and Theodore.
At some point, though, probably at some point on Vegas, like within this contract on Vegas, he's gonna be the number 2 guy because Pietrangelo.
That's fair.
Like Pietrangelo's not
you were
here for 8 more
expecting him
years.
to get.
Yeah, I'd say I was expecting about $7.5–8 million for him. Like $8 million would have been high, but like. Who's to say like San Jose or Chicago doesn't just throw money at him if he was to hit free agency, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, he's a good 2A defenseman. He can play a lot of minutes. He's proven over his career that he can stay fairly healthy. Like he doesn't miss much time. And the other thing is, I think we got to look at it how GMs are looking at it right now. Like that the cap's going up. Like Brock Faber, like people are saying Brock Faber, they think he's going to be making like $8.75–9 million a year. Like you think of that, I'm like, dude, like that's fucking insane, man. Like the guy's gonna be getting paid more than Cale Makar, but then it's like, but where the cap's gonna be where the cap's gonna jump up to, it's like, like Nylander's getting 11.5. Like Nylander's 11.5, dude. Like he's getting paid more than Pasta.
No, I know.
Which is like sort of crazy to think about. Like as good as Nylander is, but it's crazy. Like it's because with the cap going up, and they know that the cap's going up. I think GMs, when they're making these longer term deals,
I feel like just afraid. Like the whole COVID thing fucked it, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So like it's just, I guess I just don't know exactly where it's going. But I mean, yeah, you might look at this deal in a couple years and be like, I was fucking wrong, and the cap's at $100 million, and he's making $7 million, and he's potentially on the top pair. So I guess it was more just I've never seen him break out offensively and have a huge year, and it was just like. He's almost making $8 million, and I just don't really know if I'd want to give him that much. I feel like ideally I'd probably want to give him like 6.5.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not really that far off where it's like I think this is like a brutal deal or anything. And fuck, dude, if they get a cup or two, it's like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't necessarily think this is a bad contract by any means. But I guess the reason I was surprised with so much is like Vegas has got $8 million in cap space next year. Depending if the cap goes up, it could go anywhere up to like 12 to 13. They've got, I think Stevenson's gone since they brought in Hurdle.
Yeah,
the thing is like Marchessault's a UFA. Are they going to sign him? They've got Carrier as a UFA too. Like Martinez, I feel like is good as gone now with bringing Hanifin in. So it's like it just depends what they decide they want to do, right? Because Marchessault's been a big part of their team. Is this it? Like, is this, you know what I mean?
I think they'll have to move on from some guys, but I also think that they're gonna pull some shit here. It's Vegas. So they'll pull something. Like the way when we look at what Vegas has done ever since they've entered the league, like they do these LTIR stuff. Like they're not afraid to move on from players or make these big deals. Like they bring in Jack. They move on from Alex Tuck when he's having a career year and really breaking out.
Riley Smith after just
get
winning
Jack
the cup.
Eichel. Yeah, they move on from Riley
See, the
Smith.
thing is, this is what I'm thinking is like, if you're Vegas, you would almost hope Marchessault would take a little bit of a discount because he's been there. But it's like in Marchessault's shoes, it's like, why am I going to take a discount when I know I've been here since day one, but you've traded everyone else. I might be me next. You know what I mean? Like when Marchessault comes out next year and gets 22 goals.
And for Marchessault too, he's been underpaid his entire career.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, guy's a Conn Smythe winner.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our playoff preview now, though. It's getting to that point of the season. By the time we're recording for our next podcast, we're probably going to be early on in round one of the playoffs. Yeah. So we got to do some
previewing the playoffs or
playoff
something.
Previews right now. It's a little hard because we don't know for sure who's playing who. Still like a little bit
still up for grabs, man.
It's honestly a fair bit that could change here within the last couple days of the season, but it does look like New York is probably guaranteed to win first in the East. They'll be playing the second wild card spot, which is either going to be Pittsburgh, Washington, Detroit, or Philly. I think
it could be the Islanders, but I mean, like I think they may have.
It could be the Islanders too.
I think with the win last night, they're probably solidified third there.
I think they're pretty safe there. I got Pittsburgh in that last wild card spot. Who do you have though?
I want it to be Pittsburgh for sure. But like these teams are just like, they don't seem like, besides Pittsburgh lately, it doesn't seem like any of those other teams really want this spot. Like it's like they're not playing well. Teams are losing. Washington last night had the chance to beat Buffalo and stay in that spot. I think Pittsburgh's hot right now and they're not going anywhere and they're staying in that wild card too.
Yeah, when you look at Pittsburgh in their last 10, they're 7-0-3. When you look at Washington, 3-5-2. Detroit, 3-4-3. Philadelphia 2-6-1.
No one wants.
When you look at the wild card race right now for that last spot in the East, the only team that actually is over 500 in their last 10 games and showing that they want to be in the playoffs is the Pittsburgh Penguins, aka Sidney Crosby. He's carrying that team, kicking and dragging to the playoff spot right now, and
it's good for him.
I think they're getting the last wild card spot. New York, I think, is going to absolutely smack them around in the first round.
Rangers, you think so?
Oh, yeah. Unless Pittsburgh, they are playing a lot better, but like,
do you not think they can keep up with them?
Yeah, like New York's too deep. Shesterkin's been better.
I wonder though, man. I don't know. Something about the Rangers this year, I don't know what it is, and it's weird to say considering they might win the President's Trophy. But I don't really think they're poised for a long run this year. I don't know what it is. The weirdest thing is that the two division leaders in the Eastern Conference don't scare me a ton.
Yeah.
I'm more scared by Florida and Carolina than I am by the Rangers in Boston.
Well, like when you look at the Rangers, they didn't really make any big acquisition late on.
No.
Same thing with Boston. You look at Florida, like Florida's looked good all year, but like even go and get Tarasenko, who's looked really good in a Florida Panthers jersey. And then for Carolina, they go and get Jake Gensel, and I think he's had like 20 points in his last 13 games with him or something.
In an 82 game pace right now, he's on pace for 123 points.
Yeah, like fucking put that guy in the Hart conversation, you know? But
I don't know, dude. It's just those two division leaders. I don't know what it is. I just think that I could be so wrong about the Rangers, dude. Like, look, I could totally see them being Pittsburgh. That's not what I'm saying or anything like that. But it's like, I think if they get past round 1, like round 2, like I wouldn't be surprised if they're done. Like, I don't think they're going on a long run.
I can agree there. I think part of the thing is when you look at the East, the top 4 teams in the East are so fucking. Top 4 or 5 teams in the East are like all so good and like really on pace for each other.
Too, like for the most part,
you have New York, Carolina, Boston, Florida, Leafs are all within about 9 points of each other, and like they're all really fucking good teams.
Yeah,
like in a 7-game series, no matter who's playing who out of that top 5 in the East, I have all those series going to 7 games.
The thing is like I'm not even convinced like Boston as a 1 seed is like beating Tampa.
Yeah, I can agree there, man. Vasilevsky's been getting hot as of recently. Like,
yeah,
you got Kucherov, who's a one-man team himself. Like, I think the East this year at the top looks great. New York getting in there as the 3rd team in the Metro. I don't really like that, not going to lie.
Yeah.
I think Boston or whoever finishes first in the Atlantic sort of getting fucked here by having to play Tampa.
Yeah.
When realistically they should be playing the 2nd worst team in the conference that's making the playoffs, which is not Tampa.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's going to be a lot of great first round matchups here in the Eastern Conference. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Before we move on to the West, so I want to ask you one question. Based off how it's sort of looking that the first round matchups are going to be right now, what's your favorite matchup that you're looking forward to?
If the playoffs, you're saying the playoffs like started today, and we were getting these matchups in particular?
Yeah.
So right now in the East, we've got Boston, Tampa, Florida, Toronto, Rangers, Pittsburgh, and Carolina Islanders. I think just Boston, Tampa, dude. I think that's just going to be a huge series. You'd kind of expect that a lot later in the playoffs. But I mean, it's also going to be interesting to see Florida, Toronto.
That's the one I have on my list.
Like just coming off last year with the Leafs, just kind of disappointing in that 2nd round last year against them. Florida's probably has not been as great recently as they have all year. No Verhaeghe right now. Wonder if he's going to be back for the playoffs. But I think that'll be a really good series.
Yeah, that's the series I'm most looking forward to in the Eastern Conference right now. When you sort of look at that, as you mentioned, there's that 2nd round matchup that they had last year where Toronto disappointed. Part of the thing was like coming out of that series last year was Toronto's like where their team isn't physical enough. Where we saw Florida sort of beat up on them a bit.
They've been showing more of it recently though.
But with the team that they've had this year, it's definitely a lot more physical than the team that they had last year in the playoffs. So it's like, well, we see that physicality is not as much of a gap this year in that first round. I think whoever wins that first round is going to be physically fucking beat up between those two teams. Let's move on to the Western Conference, though. This is where it's not as interesting going into the last couple days of the season here. Vegas, they're the only team that has not clinched a playoff spot so far. They're sitting in the 2nd wild card right now. They have 1 game in hand on St. Louis, and they also sit 3 points ahead of them. So they haven't.
They're hanging in there, though.
They're hanging in there, but
I don't think they're gonna get in. But
there's a very low percentage right now that Vegas does not.
I just think I'm more or less saying like I didn't expect them to be like 3 points out with 4 games left at all.
When you look at the rest of the conference though, that Central, dude, that 2-3 seed in the Central between Winnipeg and Colorado.
I don't know what to think of that series. I think it might be one of the best series in the playoffs in the first round, to be honest.
Yep.
Fuck, are they going to be fighting for home ice, though, dude? Winnipeg wins last night against Dallas. Now they're 2. Colorado can go ahead of them. Like, it's going to be an intense last couple games.
They have almost they literally have identical records on the year. 79 game played, 49 wins, 24 losses.
Good thing for Dallas getting that first slot, though, because they're getting a way easier matchup in round 1.
I don't... but you're playing Vegas, oh, man.
I just think...
With Mark Stone coming back... I think the Central going into the playoffs is getting fucked.
Can't they? Like to go to first in the West or no?
Like Vegas to get that first wild card spot?
I mean, the thing is, Vancouver's 4 points behind Dallas still, yeah.
Like, I think it's most likely going to be Vegas-Dallas first round, and then Winnipeg is going to be Winnipeg-Colorado. Like, dude, those Central teams, man, are getting fucked.
And I think, LA's probably a couple points too far ahead for Vegas to jump to third.
Yeah.
I guess, but I don't know. I don't see Vegas beating Dallas. I don't.
I don't really see it either, but
I don't think they've been playing good recently at all.
It's not going to be an easy series.
No.
If Mark Stone's coming back, like, for the first seed in the whole conference to be having to play Vegas, like, if we're talking about New York, they're going to play Pittsburgh. I think Vegas is a whole lot better than Pittsburgh.
For fucking
it's like,
sure, dude.
Yeah, Dallas being the first in the West, they're gonna have to go against Vegas.
Yeah, I've got another question.
Could be like a
I was
Pittsburgh
thinking about
or
this a
St.
couple days
Louis.
ago. Oilers got 2 games in hand on the Canucks. Okay, if they win both of them, they're technically tied with them.
Yeah.
As Vancouver, would you almost prefer to drop to second and play LA instead of playing Nashville in round 1? Because I'm going to be honest, dude, I think a lot of people are going to underestimate Nashville. I seriously think if Nashville plays Vancouver, they can beat them.
Yeah, you could get goalied with Soros.
I think that Nashville probably wouldn't stand a chance against Dallas. I don't think they'd probably stand a great chance against Vegas either. But I think they can totally beat Vancouver. I don't know if they'll be able to beat McDavid and Edmonton. But I mean, I for Vancouver, it's like I feel like I'd prefer to play LA.
Yeah, I think I would prefer to play LA because they don't have the goaltending that Nashville has. They don't have that same streak that Nashville has.
Last night for the Kings?
No.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Good. I fucking hope he's
4C.
Honestly, I hope he's scratched if they make the playoffs for game 1. Scratch the guy.
He's got a real opportunity to redeem himself.
He's been terrible, man.
He has. But he's got an opportunity to change the course if he can play well.
Yeah, I'd want to go LA though cuz
and it's probably not likely it's going to happen, but I mean, like, I almost would prefer not to play Nashville right now.
Yeah.
They're hot, dude.
They're hot. They got a bit more leadership there. Like, you have some more players who have been in the playoffs, have that playoff experience.
Yeah. And Vancouver doesn't really have
and they got the goalie.
Vancouver doesn't have that right now.
And Demko is coming back, but
yeah.
Who knows
How long it takes him to get in a rhythm, though? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean he's going to play Demko right away.
Yeah, like, it could take him some time to get in a rhythm, and
it's the same thing with Aiden Hill in Vegas right now, dude. He's just coming back too, and like,
I got one quick question for you. One quick question before we move on from the playoff preview and get to our hardware predictions.
Yeah.
Do you want the NHL to go back to 1-8? And if they do not, should they expand the playoffs?
No, 1-8.
1-8. I completely agree with you. It's so much.
I think that I think with more teams, they probably will decide to expand the playoffs because I think it's just going to make them more money. But I think 1-8 would be great. Would you want it like they used to have it, where no matter what, 1-2 in the conference is division winners?
I want them to go straight back 1-8. Actually, you know what? I don't do 1-8. Expand the playoffs. Expand the playoffs. I honestly, I don't really know. I haven't thought about it too much because there's so many scenarios that you could.
What if they did? What if they did NBA like where it's 20 and then you almost have 7, 10, 8, 9 playing?
I think that would be the best. Expand the playoffs. 20. Have a play-in for a couple teams. Just have more teams in it with all the expansion. That's what I want to see.
I think if the NHL ends up going up to like 36 teams or so, they're probably going to have to, because I think it's just going to be too hard like it was in the MLB, right? You have legitimately good teams that are missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's like 10 fucking teams in the playoffs.
It's the best that you're going to get revenue, fans paying attention. They got to expand it somehow. I'm with you on that. Before we move on to our hardware predictions, though, we'll take a quick break. Going into the playoffs, we'll be giving you some picks and series winners that we like. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for our hardware predictions coming up. With the NHL playoffs starting up this week, we'll give you 2 of our picks we love going into the playoffs. The first pick is the Winnipeg Jets to win round 1 over the Colorado Avalanche. The Jets have now secured home ice in this series with a strong finish to the season, going 7-2-1 in their final 10 games. On the other side, the Avalanche are 3-5-2 in their last 10 and have had some goaltending issues leading into this series. You can currently get the Jets at plus 110, meaning $10 will win you 21. Our second pick is the Dallas Stars to win the Stanley Cup. In the regular season, they finished on top of the Western Conference, and looking at their roster, they might have the most depth going into the playoffs. They have 8 20-goal scorers on the team and 11 in double digits. Along with their depth, they have a great goaltending in Jake Ottinger, who's shown previously that he plays well in the playoffs. You can currently get the Stars at plus 750, meaning $10 will win you $85. All right, now that you got all the betting information you need leading in the Stanley Cup playoffs, let's move on to the final part of this episode. With the season wrapping up, we've had pretty much a full season sample size now, so we'll get into our hardware predictions for the 2023-24 season. We'll start off with the Jack Adams. Mark, who do you have here?
So I'll go the 3 picks and then the winner. 3 picks. I'm gonna go Tocchet in Vancouver.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Carberry in Washington.
Okay.
And then my third one is actually, I haven't mentioned him this year, but their late surge Brunette with the Predators.
Okay.
I think the way that they've played lately and able to get into the playoffs, he definitely deserves some recognition. Regardless, so I think this is Rick Tocchet's award. I think that the way that he's kind of changed his team since he's been in there, also kind of including that little stretch of last season as well, for them potentially to be finishing first in that division after teams and fans are just ripping on these guys, have made the playoffs in years, have no structure. He's definitely brought a lot of that into the team, and they're playing obviously not some great hockey lately, but I think just the longevity of how well they've played through the most of the year, he's definitely deserving of this award.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got Rick Tocchet as a winner. My finalists have John Tortorella. Even though Philly's most likely not making the playoffs at this point, I still think for how much they overperformed this season, you got to throw John Tortorella in that conversation. And then the third one I have is Chris Knoblauch.
Okay.
I think you could flip that and put Andrew Brunette in there, as you mentioned. The reason I have Chris Knoblauch, though, is just when you look at Edmonton before he was hired and after he was hired.
5-12 on American Thanksgiving.
The fact that Edmonton, as we mentioned earlier, still has somewhat of a chance here to finish first in that division.
It's nuts.
Dude, we were like, at one point, people were like, oh my God, can they even like get back to a wild card spot?
Yeah.
And it's like, they did that. They came back to third, came back to second.
Ago.
And now they still have a chance to win that division. It's like, what he's done for that team, I think, he's drastically changed their
I think another guy that could probably be nominated, and I wouldn't complain, is probably Rick Bowness with the Jets.
Yep, I think there's a lot of guys here that could be. I think this season we're seeing for the awards, it's the most amount of guys I think ever that like you can have in conversations for
guys
all these awards.
Snubbed of nominations even.
As we go through the awards, like we can do some honorable mentions as we did for this one, but yeah, it's going to be Rick Tocchet for everything that you said. He's going to be the winner this year. Let's move on to the Selke. For my finalists, I got Barkov, Suzuki, Kopitar, and for my winner, I got Barkov. It's honestly, I think this one's not going to be too close. Who's winning? I think it's going to be Barkov pretty easily.
Yeah.
When you look at Florida, how good he is defensively, how good he is on that line with Sam Reinhart and the production that Reinhart's putting up this year, I think it's easily going to be Barkov. Who do you have though?
Man, I fucking am surprised you gave Suzuki a nomination because he has been money defensively this year. I have him on my ballot too. It might be a little bit of a homer pick. I don't have him winning. I've got Suzuki, Barkov as well. My third one's actually McDavid. I think he's improved his defensive game drastically over the past year and a half, and I think he's actually been one of the better defensive forwards in the league over that stretch. But on the winner, I agree with you. I would give it to Barkov as well.
Yeah, it's 100% going to be Barkov. Let's talk about Nick Suzuki quickly here, though, because I don't think it's a homer take whatsoever to put Nick Suzuki in as a finalist. Yes, Montreal isn't the greatest team right now, but they've shown a lot of improvement.
But he's taken it like that.
And he's taken that
step off offensively, too, right? To even just be on that upper echelon of points with some of these guys, right? He's not getting 50 points, and you want him to be he might hit 80 this year. He's actually pretty close to it. So
for the longest time, we were hearing that Nick Suzuki's NHL comp was sort of that Patrice Bergeron player.
Yeah,
and I think this is the year that it's
definitely a hard guy to live up to for sure. But I mean, he's showing signs of that he's a really good defensive centerman.
This year, he's for sure showing that he's starting to live up to that comparison, that he is that legit two-way number one center that Montreal needs.
Yeah.
I think that one's not as close. This one, it's not as close. Some of the finalists, though, that I have personally, they've had phenomenal seasons. And any other year, they probably would win this award, but it's just hard to go up against. It's the Calder. I got Connor Bedard, Brock Faber, Luke Hughes as my 3 finalists. And we all know who I'm taking here is winning it. It's Connor Bedard.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I would have the same 3 finalists as well with the exact same winner. All those guys have been really good this year, man. Like Brock Faber stepping in for Spurgeon going out, and it's not even that he almost has 50 points. It's this guy's playing number 1 frickin' minutes.
Yeah.
Luke Hughes basically has been asked to do the same thing with Hamilton out too, right?
Yeah.
And Bedard's just been money when he's been healthy, right? Especially even coming after that jaw injury, he's been even better than he was before. So I definitely give Bedard the award. Kind of sucks for Hughes and Faber, but they definitely deserve a nomination.
Yeah, Bedard, he's almost at a point per game.
Yeah.
It's hard not to give it to a rookie who's at a point per game.
18-year-old rookie, too.
Yeah, the only thing that's hurt him is that he missed time with injuries. But, like, if he didn't miss that time with injuries, man, he might even be over a point per game. Like, you don't know how that's going. Like, Luke Hughes and Brock Faber, as rookie defensemen, even though Brock Faber is a bit older than Luke Hughes, like, they, as you mentioned, they're both playing number 1 minutes. They're both playing, like, they're both leading the power play. They both almost have 50 points. Luke Hughes is at 47 right now. Brock Faber's at 43. Like, those 2 guys are going to be stud defensemen in the NHL for the next 10 years. Like, this Calder race, even though it's not as close because Connor Bedard is in this rookie class.
Yeah.
When there's so many good rookies here, dude. Like, you have Logan Cooley, who we haven't talked about, who you could throw in as a finalist if it was any other year. Like Marco Rossi, who's also in Minnesota.
Having a good year.
He's been playing phenomenal. Like, and then you sort of get to that second tier, like Matthew Nyes. He's been pretty good at points. Zari's been good.
Evangelista's been decent.
Evangelista, he's been amazing. Tyson Forster's been a massive part
of
to
the Flyers,
Philly's success this year. Like, the Calder race is as close, as much as it's not that close, it has been a great year to watch it, just with the amount of talent that actually is in that race compared to other years where you have a 25-year-old guy winning it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Vezina, though. This one, too, I think it's been fun to watch, but one player's sort of been pulling away here. Let's start off with you, though. Who do you have?
I got Hellebuck winning it. I think he's definitely been the best goalie this year.
Yeah.
For nominations, I think the number 2 guy has probably been Demko.
Yep.
The number 3, I feel like it's a little bit more wide open. If I had to pick a finalist, though, I think it would be like Bob or Swayman.
Yep.
Like, and honestly, like, as much as his save percentages went down this year too a little bit, like, Markstrom would be up there. I don't know if he has, like, the wins and, like, the overall save percentage to really put him on the ballot, but I think, like, the team he's been on and how much he's bailed out Calgary at times, he probably deserves to be up there. I think I would go Swayman with the number 3, though. I really like the way he's played this year, to be honest with you. But Bob, like, he kind of deserves it too. Like, he's been money for the Panthers, right? So he's played more, but I don't know. I think I would take Swayman slightly over Bob right now.
Yeah, I got Hellebuck winning it, and it's not even close. When I was looking at odds earlier, he's at minus 600.
Yeah,
win it, so it's like you're not even really making money.
Man, if you break down like goaltending stats, even not just the stats you see here, like based on shot quality and stuff like that, like he's been the best goalie in the league.
The only guy that could have given him a run for his money this year when the Vezina was Thatcher Demko, but with missing that time over injury, unfortunately he can't. But I have him as my second finalist, and for me, we sort of flip flopped our third finalist. I had Bob as my third finalist. Yeah. I was thinking Swayman, but when I was really comparing their goalie stats, the reason I go Bob here is because Bob has the bigger sample size. Like, Bob's played close to 60 games this season, where Swayman is literally, like, Swayman and Allmark are literally going to be 41, 41 each. So it's like, it's a bit hard to give it to a goalie who's in a real pure tandem. And the other thing is, when you look at that tandem, like, Swayman and Allmark have almost identical goalie numbers.
That's fair.
So that's just why I got to go Bob, is because he's got a little bit more of that load on his shoulders. I want to ask something about Bob now, though. Assuming he is a finalist for the Vezina this year, that's going to give him 2 Vezinas in his career, and at least 3 times he was a finalist for the Vezina. Like, is he a Hall of Famer at this point?
It's
pretty borderline, but like it's getting closer and closer, man.
I would say yeah, not first ballot.
Yeah,
but I think he's shown enough in his career that he's been like a dominant goaltender at times. I do think too that like there were times where he was not great.
Oh, without
early in Florida,
first couple years.
But
in
I
Florida.
would say that I think it was overblown.
It's because he was
like
making
how
10.
bad he was, quote unquote. Like it's like he's putting up a 900 and everyone's ripping him, right? It's like a lot of goalies in the league would love to have a 900, but when you're making $10 million,
it's not
that's
that
the top
great,
of the conversation, right? So I don't know. I think that he's just taken a little bit too much hate. He's always been it kind of seems like a good guy, good sport, like never in trouble with anything. You never see him like blow up on his players, nothing like that, dude. He seems like it's kind of just like a goalie, a nice calm guy, So I would probably have him. I think it actually will depend the last couple seasons how he does. But I mean, the fact that he could be up for a Vezina, dude, Florida could be poised for another run.
Yeah, like they could win a cup here.
Yeah, so it's like if he gets a cup 100%, but even without the cup, I would say yes, but probably not first ballot.
I agree with you. I don't think it's first ballot. If he wins a cup, for sure he's in. Like without a doubt, he gets in at some point. Even without the cup, I still think there's like a 95% chance he gets in. Because just when you look at the history of the NHL, can you name a guy that's won 2 Vezinas that's not in the Hall of Fame?
Like, no,
I don't know.
One thing I will say is like
possible.
I feel like he's been. I can't count every goalie, but at absolute worst, he was a top 10 goalie of the 2010s.
Yeah, I'd argue top 5 probably.
Yeah, so I mean that alone might be able to get you in. Like think about it. Like okay, Hank Lundqvist. Like I would say he's been a better goalie than Bobrovsky. That's my opinion. He's in as a first ballot.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't think he's way better or anything. So it's like, and even Price, it's like seeing Hank be a first ballot. I think Price is probably going to be a first ballot.
Price is easily a first ballot.
To be quite honest with you, and it's like, as much as I think Price is better than Bob, it's like I don't think he's like light years better than him.
Their resumes
I could totally see Bob being in the Hall of Fame.
Their resumes aren't that far off.
No,
like
not at
Price does beat him out, but it's not.
He also won
a
a Vezina on a pretty shitty Columbus team.
Yeah,
like he wasn't on some great teams here until now recently with Florida. Like
yeah, he'll get into the Hall of Fame. I believe in my Bob. Let's move on to the Norris though. This is another pretty close one here. For me, my finalists I got Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, and third finalist I got Roman Josi. Just the way he's been playing here the second part of the season, really helping out, pushing that Nashville Predators team into that wild card spot. That's why I got him in there. But I think this one's going to be pretty unanimous here. It's going to be Quinn Hughes.
I think so too. He's been a lot points wise with Makar. It's close, but I mean defensively he's become kind of better this year.
Yeah.
I think he's just driven a lot more play too. To be quite honest with you, nothing against Makar. Definitely deserves to be a finalist. I think, honestly, my number 3, it's kind of changed the last couple weeks. I feel like I'd put Josi too, but I think before that, and I wouldn't hate if he was a finalist, Noah Dobson's definitely a good pick here. Like, they've had a lot of injuries back there. Pollock's been out. Pellick's been out. He's been asked to play not just, like, this offensive role, but it's, like, a huge role within the team, right? And he's been doing really well. So I think I would probably have the same finalists as you with the same winner, but I would also be okay with switching out Josi and Dobson.
Yeah, I think even like a couple other honorable mentions. Evan Bouchard, he's had another really good season here, ever since that last month. Like 79 points, pretty damn good as a defenseman. Victor Hedman as well.
Huge offensive year from him.
No Sergachev in that lineup for a while this year. Like he's really stepped it up, helped push that team in the playoffs, and another reason why I quite frankly think they look scary going into that first round against most likely Boston.
Fair.
And let's move on to the big one. It's the Hart. I think this is the most loaded Hart race I can remember watching.
Man,
like, I don't remember watching one where not only has it been this tough on like who's winning, but there's like who's winning is between 3 guys. But honestly, man, there's like another 3-4 guys after the 3 guys we have here that like I think could have been finalists in any other year. For my 3 finalists, I got Kucherov, McDavid, McKinnon. You changing anything there?
No, I wouldn't change anything. Yeah. But there's other guys that like are almost getting snubbed. It feels like of how good years they're having. Matthews might hit 70. Panarin's got like 116 points this year. Sid is just literally dragging his team into the playoffs. You could have 2 freaking separate Hart Awards with finalists this year.
I was gonna say the guys that I think are honorable mentions for me that aren't gonna be in that top 3 that like easily have a debate to be would be Crosby 4 there. I'd have maybe Matthews 4 or 5 with Crosby. And then Panarin could be that 6th guy and 117 points, man.
It's like fucking Pasternak's got a ton too, dude.
It's such a loaded race, but at the end of the day, I got to go with those 3 as the finalists. Like Connor McDavid to put up the stats that he has after missing some games earlier on in the year and not playing the greatest or up to his standards at least for the first 10, 15 games. Like you got to have him in that conversation. Kucherov, the guy's going to score 140 points this year almost.
Dude, he might get 100 assists. Yeah. Same thing with McDavid if he plays. So,
but at the end of the day, honestly, I got to give it to Nathan McKinnon, man.
I think so too, man.
Dog, dude.
The thing is with Kucherov, it's just so hard because he's got like 50 more points than Point, right? But I don't know, man. I just think McKinnon's been so dominant this year that it's like
he's been so dominant this year. The other thing too that I think is going to take into account for the Hart voting is I think a lot of people are going to be voting for Nathan McKinnon just because how close it is between Kucherov, McKinnon, and McDavid. It's like McKinnon's the only one that doesn't have a heart.
See,
Kucherov has a heart.
Ideally, this is how this is how I think it could be a win-win scenario, okay? Kucherov leads the league in scoring, gets the Art Ross.
Yep.
McKinnon gets the Hart.
McDavid gets the Ted Lindsay.
McDavid gets the 10 Lindsay.
Yeah.
Matthews gets the Rocket.
I'd have no issue at all with that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Them all get an award like that.
The other thing is it's better for the NHL branding wise where it's like you can push more. You have more star athletes compared to years where like not that it sucks that McDavid is such a good hockey player and there's a year where he wins fucking 5 awards, but it's like the more players you have winning these awards, the more
it's better, yeah.
The better it is for the game because you can push these players out to the fans or to people that don't watch the sport and you're trying to get their attention. Like what's better? Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid, Matthews all standing up on a podium with each of their trophies, getting that photo and putting it out on social media, or McDavid with his 4 or 5. Like you can make an argument that the McDavid one's good, but no offense to McDavid.
Not every year.
Not every year. You got to have your years where the star players are really shining. And this year we're having that year. I think it's going to be great for the growth of hockey. Just having these players playing how they are right now.
So you don't have it written on the sheet, but did you see the Bill Masterton finalists?
No.
I was curious who you would think would be a finalist for those. I have the list right here if you want to look through it quick. Obviously, this award, it's very, how do I say this? Like, it's almost like every guy deserves an award because it's how they battled back through adversity. You know what I mean? I have a couple guys that I think that will end up being the finalists, though.
Do you have the list of finalists in front of you?
Well, I have one from every team.
Okay.
Do you want to see it? Do you have it?
Yeah, I would like to see this. The Flames, it's going to be it's
Shillington.
Yeah, it's going to be Shillington.
So, looking at that list quick, and if I had to narrow it down to 3 guys to be nominated, I would go with Oliver Shillington.
Yep.
I would go with Frederik Andersen.
Yep.
And honestly, I would go with Jonathan Drouin.
Jonathan Drouin, okay.
I think the way he stepped back this year, and in accordance to all the injury history, mental health history that he's had, I think that him being nominated would be great. Another guy I think you could probably put in there, he hasn't really had that good of a season, but just battling back, is Couturier. He was out for a year and a half. But I think those 3 guys, especially Anderson, leaving for a blood clot, coming back, he's playing unreal right now,
he
dude.
is.
And it's like Shillington, how he stepped out, he came back, Drouin. And the thing is, it's like, I don't even want to pick a winner because it's like they all kind of fucking deserve it. Like, you know what I mean? It was even last year with Letang and Keller and I forget who the other guy was. But it was like, dude, Keller broke his fucking sternum, came back, had a career year. Letang had a stroke. It's like, how do you measure almost what is like, you know what I mean? Harder to come back from, right? So honestly, they all deserve it. If I had to pick 3, I would go with those 3. Excuse me. But I'm curious to see who ends up getting there. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Shillington and Anderson are there, just because like they came back mid-season. Like Anderson legitimately was playing, then stopped, then came back, and Shillington's been literally gone for 2 years before this, right? And came back. So I don't know. I don't know who it's going to end up being, but I wouldn't be surprised if those 3 guys are.
I agree with you on those 3 guys. I honestly like. It might be a little biased being a Flames fan, but I do think it's Shillington. Like the amount that guy was.
Dude, I never thought he was going to play again.
Yeah, like there was points where it was like, man, like he was so good that first season. Like what if? It was like what ifs, and it has been great to see him come back.
So are you really hoping that the Flames can sign him again?
Yeah, I hope they sign him again.
He's a UFA, I think, this year.
I don't know what money he's going to be asking for a term or like it's going to be.
I wonder if he would take like just another like 2-year deal or something.
Yeah, like I'd give him like a 2x2.
Yeah,
2x2, 2x.
To see what he's got.
3, maybe.
And the thing is, it's like I could see him re-signing because Calgary was great with him during this whole process, right? Like they allowed him to go, they didn't pressure him. Came back when he was ready. He probably has a ton of respect for Calgary. And as a Flames fan, you've seen so many of these players go out recently. Like, that's got to feel pretty good for having a guy that's, like, wants to stay. You know what I mean?
The other thing, too, for the Flames is they're going to be going through sort of a retooling here. You're going to have a bit of a younger lineup, younger players coming in. So it's like the amount that Shillington's been through and the way he is off the ice. Like, I think for the Flames, like, even maybe if he isn't like a top 4 defenseman, he's on your bottom pairing. Like if he's a number 5 or 6 and you're overpaying a little bit, who fucking cares? Because we're not winning.
Cap's not going to be your problem.
And the amount that guy's going to bring into the locker room for these younger players, I think it's going to be amazing.
And the one thing I will say is like seeing Montreal go through this right now is, dude, you cannot trade away all of your fucking vets.
Yeah,
you can't, dude. Like honestly, dude. I value David Savard more than a lot of people probably do just because I see how he helps the young core on Montreal, right? And it's like you don't want that to just be Mackenzie Weegar. Like you don't want him to be the only guy that's like above 30. And the thing is, he gets hurt, then what? You got 6 25-year-olds playing in the lineup one night,
your defenseman looks like the New Jersey Devils defenseman.
Yeah, so it's like you need those veteran guys like all around your lineup and especially on defense, I think, too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. The other thing I want to mention too before about the Bill Masterson is there was one other name there that I did see on the list that I think could be a finalist. I don't think he will be, but I want to give him a shout out, Jonathan Quick.
I saw him
when he got traded from away from LA last year. We were all like, okay, he's done. He's gonna go off riding the sunset, best American goalie ever. Oh look, he won a cup even though he like didn't really play for Vegas. Still best American goalie ever. Guy goes to his hometown New York Rangers this season. You can argue that he was the better goalie for majority of the season this year for the Rangers.
100%.
Like I think he's another guy that does deserve a shout out for the Bill Masterson
That's fair.
award. He best American goalie. What else can I say other than that? I think
a hell of a career. It's not over yet either.
Yeah, no, it's
he re-signed.
I think it's gonna be fun watching what he can.
I'm
do
happy for him. He's just
history books.
It's crazy, man. You have one terrible year, and they think you're done, and he probably has that mentality where he's like, no, fuck you. Like I'm not going out like this. Yeah. Like I want to prove you people wrong. Yeah, I'm not a starting goalie anymore, but like
he finds
I'm
the
not
right
going out with an 880 save percentage. Like screw that, you know.
I think it was great to see what he did this year. I think we covered a fair bit this podcast. Everything from rumors around the NHL, the playoff previews, and our award predictions.
Frozen 4
as well, which is going to be great. Next time we're recording, honestly, it might be even more eventful as this podcast is. Frozen 4 is going to be done at that point.
Yeah,
we'll be in round 1.
I'm thinking maybe even next podcast we might be to the point where we're close to like conference finals in like the CHL. We could probably dissect that a bit too.
Talk about
the O started their second round yesterday, I think, but we'll be down to like the the final 4 teams in each league, essentially. So we could probably even talk about that a bit more. Saginaw hosting the Memorial Cup this year as well. They're still in the playoffs, and they look like a really good team, which is exciting to see that it's not a shit team hosting a Memorial Cup.
OHL draft happens tomorrow.
Yeah, the first pick has already been placed. The huge kid from Oakville.
Yeah, 6'5", 230.
But yeah, before we go, did you see the amount of kids that are not going to the O and committing to the USHL?
No.
Oh, dude, it's getting to the point where it's not even like beneficial to have a top pick in the O. So I saw some guys mock ranking, his first 45 picks in the draft, 15 of them have already committed to the USHL.
Damn.
So it's becoming like a little bit of an issue because kids are wanting to go college. So you'd almost hope that this whole OHL, NCAA agreement of them to go to college after will come into place, because it sucks for teams that are at the bottom that expect this guy. Like, dude, I think this kid that went first was like around 4 to 5, but all these other kids are committing that he is now the best player available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we can talk about that a little bit more next podcast, but definitely becoming a little bit of a problem for like the OCHL.
Yeah, no, I think it will get better when this rule goes by, that they will still be allowed to have their NCAA like availability.
Eligibility.
Eligibility, as it doesn't get stripped. But yeah, I think next podcast we got to talk about what happened here in the finals of the Frozen Four. We're gonna have to talk about junior hockey playoffs and the drafts. We're gonna have the NHL
going to playoffs
in the first round of the playoffs, probably maybe 1 or 2 games in. So it's gonna be a great next episode. If you guys want to come back for next episode, come back, because it's going to be a lot of information. We'll have some more betting info there as well. But for this episode, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.